What's going on, YouTube? Back with another video for you guys, and this video is a very special video. I have a student that is going into the criminal justice field. We're gonna ask her what she likes about it, what she dislikes about it, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is 10 Talents, that's what I go by.
So, 10 Talents. The first question I have for you is, what are you studying?
I'm currently studying criminal justice. That's my major, and I'm looking to go into law.
What made you want to go into the criminal justice field?
So initially I started when I was in high school. I wanted to be a pediatrician, for the longest, pediatrician or physician. And then I took an A&P class in the 11th grade, and I was like, this ain't for me. Like, this is not what I wanted to. And then I started just researching other things. And also law has always interested me. That's always been like a backup career for me. So I just chose that and went with it.
Do you have any family members that are currently in the criminal justice field, or are you going to be the first one in your family to do that?
I think I have an uncle that does, he's like a CO. Yeah, so he's a CO. I have no clue where, but yeah. As far as becoming an attorney though, first in my family. What
is your daily life as a criminal justice student at the college?
So typically I take online classes, but the thing with the program at my college that I go to is that you can do all online, you can do in person, you can do a mix. So I typically do all online. So what I'll do is I'll go into the whatever program that we're using, and then I'll look and see whatever assignments are due, the study activities that we have to do, go through the study activities, and then after that I'll do the assessments that we have to do, whether that's a quiz, a discussion board, or just an overall assignment. And then I will go through and see it by the due date, and I'll typically read it, like do like the outline and the brief, read the rubric, and then I'll put it aside, and then I'll go back and then start the assignment.
How many hours a day do you go to class for?
Online, it really just varies. So it'll be like I can be on the computer for like 3 hours for a class per day, or if this is like an extended assignment, like let's say if I have a project or an essay, I can be anywhere on the computer for like 6 to 8 hours. Of course I take breaks in between, but if I'm doing in person though, the classes are, I believe, an hour and 15 or hour and 30 minutes, and then after that, after you go through all the classes, then you would go home and you'll do the assigned work.
In person, what is the average class size like?
It's not too much. It's not a lot. It's about, I want to say anywhere from like 10 to 15 people. Some classes are a little bit more, some classes are a little bit less, but one time I had a class, I think it was maybe like 8 people in there. Because it was just like in 2022, I believe, so it was like after COVID and people still didn't want to come back in person, like online was like the new move. So yeah, about 8. It's about the smallest size I ever had. But it was great though.
How many hours do you study for a test or an exam?
It depends, because some professors, they like you to do open book. So whatever notes that you've acquired throughout the module that you're doing, you're able to just use it on tests. So it's like, it's not necessarily a study that you do. And some of them, they don't even give study guides. If it's something where it's like you're doing honor lock, which is, if you don't know what honor lock is, it's where you have to have your camera on, you can't have no notes, and you have to have your audio on. So basically like a proctored exam, someone's watching you take it. And I would say for that, I would study for about 2 days prior to the test whenever I have downtime. But typically teachers do give you an like a study guide to help you with the test.
How easy is it to make friends in a criminal justice program?
The people there are nice. The thing is, like with me, is I maybe have like 1 or 2 classes in person, so I haven't made any friends, because honestly after class is done, like I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to just, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like 9:30 in the morning, like I don't even want to be here anyway, so I'm trying to go home. Listen, I'm one of the first people to leave the class and get out of there, so no, I haven't made friends, but I have made like acquaintances and like classmates and stuff. So it's not necessarily the people, it's just my personality of I want to go.
If you have give a college student some advice, would you tell them to take a morning class, an evening class, a night class?
I would say do whatever fits your schedule. So if you're someone that likes to work in the afternoon or the evening, take your class in the morning. If you're someone who works in the morning, then take your class in the evening, but you have to find a balance. I would recommend, so what I would do is if I have, let's say I work at like 12:30, I would take the 9:30 and then I would take the 10:45, so that pushes you out to about 12 or so. So then you have enough time, but you also got to make sure like the distance that you have to go to work, you can ride to work on time. Luckily for me, I worked super close to the campus that I was on, so it was like nothing. So I was able to get out of class 12:15, and by 12:30 I was at work and on time. So yeah, you have to fit what does your schedule. Personally, me, I just like taking morning classes, just get it out the way, get it over with.
Do you think the professor actually help their students and care about their student well-being?
So one thing about the criminal justice professors, the ones that I've taken in person, I must say, they do care about their students and they do like to give life advice. Like, yes, it's great to read by the book, but the professors, especially, he was the like head instructor, and I had his class, I had him for like 2 semesters. And when I tell you, like, that man is like, I was like, this is what every teacher needs to take notes on how he is, because he keeps it super real with you. He keeps the work simple, and a lot of the participation and stuff and a lot of the homework that you're supposed to be doing is like, it's in class participation, like let's have a real life discussion. So it's like everyone in the class, they're sharing their different ideas and everyone's bouncing off of it. I've also had another professor where she's been like, first thing in the morning, she'll give us a news article like, this is what's going on. She wants everyone's opinion on it. Or she'll just like give us like a controversial, like a hot topic, and everyone in the class just giving their input. So yeah, professors do care. I've had a couple, this is only online, that I've had an issue with, where it's like professors, they'll just grade your assignment and they like won't give you feedback. But I'm like, how are you going to tell me that you knocked X amount of points off, but you're not going to tell me what I did wrong on it? It makes no sense to me. But I've also had professors where online, where every single time I would get like the same score, but then he would write the same exact comment. So it's like, I don't even know if you're reading my work or not. I can't tell. Like, you give me the same score for every single thing, and then you write the exact same comment. How am I supposed to know how to improve, how to get better? But that's just the only 2 issues that I have with professors. Other than that, they've been really helpful. Pretty great.
Speaking about professors and students, have you had any arguments or heated debates inside of your class with the whole criminal justice program?
Not that I can recall, no. It's mainly been, if someone says something and I don't agree, I'll typically like make a face and I'm like, bro, what? Like, there was this one time where this one guy, we were talking about something with like telling the truth or something. It was a scenario. So there was a YouTube video playing with the professor, and he was like, basically the video was like, the guy, he was really interested in the girl. Mind you, it's a cartoon video. So the guy was really interested in the girl, but she had a problem with being on time. And so it was like, what should the guy do? Like, he doesn't want to lie to her and be like, you know, blow her off. But at the same time, he's like, he is someone that values his time. So should he tell her that like the dinner starts at, you know, 6 instead of 6:30 when it really starts at 6:30, just so she can be early? It was kind of like a morally ethic question. And then the one guy, we were basically just talking amongst ourselves and stuff. And then the one guy, he goes, yeah, like, I'm a pathological liar, so I would have told her this, and that. And everyone in the class just paused and looked at him, and I was like, huh? Like, why would you admit to being a liar? And he's like, yeah, like, I lie to my friends like all the time. Like, I'll just tell them that when I have a daughter when I really don't. And I was like, when I tell you, me and the boy next to me, we literally paused and we went, and just slowly turned our heads and looked at this man. We like, what are you talking about, bro? No, you don't belong to criminal justice thing if you gonna lie like that. No. But and they try to justify it later with saying something along the lines of, it was a scenario where if you were in traffic, if you were a cop and you seen someone and they like swerve out of a lane, or would you basically pull them over and see what's going on, or would you kind of like let it go? And he's like, yeah, like, I think that, you know, cops should be honest about what's going on the road, and I would have pulled the person over and see, you know, what's going on. And we're all like looking at him and we're like, you can't talk about honesty, bud. You just said that you're a liar. Please don't start. So yeah, that was pretty funny though.
Did you go into the criminal justice for the money, or did you actually go in it to help people?
Both. So one thing about me is I'm not going to waste my time going to school and getting a job or going into a career that is not well paid. So obviously I want to go into a field where I'm going to be well compensated for my work. However, I didn't just go into it for the money. I actually did go into it because I do want to help people. Also, I've seen the movie called When They See Us, which I will never watch that movie again, but I've seen that movie back in high school, and it was basically the Central Park Five. They were basically incriminated for a crime that they didn't commit, spent years and years in prison until they were finally exonerated. So that definitely helped me wanted to go into the field and just kind of change that to, so cases that people have been locked up for like a hot minute, you know, reopen that and kind of look into that and say, okay, were they rightfully convicted, or is there something that's going on? So definitely helped me make my decision. Yeah.
This is kind of a hot topic, but do you think racism actually plays into the whole criminal justice field, or do you think criminals are just criminals no matter their race? So do you think prosecutors and judges will give a certain group of people a harsher sentence or a time compared to another people, or you think that's just all made up and, you know?
So he's actually studied the statistics in that because that actually was a question in criminal justice. And based on the study that's done, yes, if you're black or brown, that you would get a harsher sentence. Obviously, it all depends on whoever the judge is. It depends on where you live. But as far as like a whole, the outlook in America, yeah, black and brown people have been locked up and incarcerated at a rate that's like way higher than whites. So yeah, definitely it does exist.
How much money does a person who go into the criminal justice field make on average?
So it can depend. If you're starting out with something like a paralegal, you can make around like 50K just starting. But lawyers, I mean, if you work in corporate law, that's like one of the highest that you get paid. So you're going to be making like 250,000 plus. The only thing with that type of law is that basically all of your time will be dedicated to that. So you can work from anywhere from like 60 to 80 hours a week. Not something I'm trying to do, but if that's for you, that's for you, you know? So yeah, anywhere from like 50, 250,000. Obviously it ranges between, you know, geographically where you live, the type of law that you're in, that kind of stuff. But overall, if you go into anything criminal justice, you're gonna be making good money.
What are the most important aspects of the criminal justice system that you are learning about?
I would definitely say just different aspects of policing, and that because there was actually a section that we did in one of the modules in my legal aspects in policing class, or something was named like that, and basically talk about how different types of policing affects the community. So basically studies were done where they would have certain officers from different counties, so it would say you do community policing, you do just like standard regular policing, and then they would do stuff where like they would crack down on certain hot spots and see if like they could lead to arrests and that kind of stuff. So definitely policing matters, the community matters, and also I would just say that relationship that they can build within each other, that definitely matters. Because I mean, at the end of the day, cops and civilians, if you're gonna live like, you know, hostile with each other, it's like, who you gonna call when crimes, you know what I mean, crimes is being committed, but at the same time, how do you expect help from these people that depend on you for help if you're not trying to help them out at the same time? So it's definitely a mutual decision that has to be made. And obviously you look in the world today, you see that there has to be work that needs to be done.
In the next 10 to 20 years, do you think the relationship between civilians and police officers will be better, or do you think it will become more worse?
I mean, you know, hope for the best, but it really requires two parties to change, both of them. So like the policing, they are trying to like basically find new ways to like interact with civilians, kind of bring back that community-based policing. That's one of the most popular ones, one of the most common ones that they're trying to implement again. But at the same time, it's like for civilians, you know, if you can't trust the cops, you ain't gonna call them, you know what I mean? So a lot of people they're just sick of the justice system overall, and they want to take things into their own hands. So, you know, that's why a lot of people are purchasing firearms, you know, they're standing their own ground and that kind of stuff. But overall, I would just say if both of them decide to change, policing and civilians, if they both find a way to like communicate with each other better, then yes, I do believe that policing would be better in the next 10 to 20 years. However, if everyone stays the way how they are now, it's going to get 10 times worse, because the truth is people are just sick of it and people are just tired of it. And there's other factors too that can like really trigger someone to just go off the rails. And it doesn't even have to do with, you know, policing, it's just people in general.
Which area of the criminal justice are you most interested in? Example, law enforcement, the courts, corrections, a judge, anything.
Definitely say courts. Definitely appeals to me the most. Just hearing cases and stuff like that. It's like you hear cases and you're like, there's no way that this person actually sat up here and done that. Like I've heard some pretty bizarre cases and I'm like, and then you look at the sentence that they're given and you're like, what? Like this don't even make sense like at all. So
speaking of sentences, what is the most harsh sentence you ever heard of? And then the second question would be, which is the easiest sentence you ever heard of? Like somebody that did something really bad, but they got off easy. Okay,
this one really made me mad. So I'm gonna start first with someone did something really bad, but they got a little bit of time. So there was this guy one time, and he was 19 years old, and he decided to steal his dad's pickup truck, and he drove to a bar. First of all, he had a fake ID, right? And he ended up drinking, I think it was 9 alcoholic beverages. I don't remember exactly what they were, if they were like mimosas or something. Anyways, he's underage, he shouldn't have been drinking. False ID, right? He gets in his car and he drives, and I think he was doing like a 75 or a 95 and like a 35. And he ended up hitting into this woman in her car, and she had her infant child in the back, hits into her, causes like the woman, first of all, caused a whole ruckus. It was a one-way street and what they were going on. So he hits her, and then she ends up dying, and now this child had to grow up motherless because of reckless driving. So you would think like, so the teacher, he paused and he was like, okay, so what do y'all think should be the sentence? And I was like, minimum of like 10 years. Like, he just took a life. Mind you, this man was the sheriff's son. So we knew off rip that, like, I was like, I know whatever sentence that he got was not nearly enough. And so everyone in the class, we agreed with like at least like minimum 10 years. Like, that was just a heinous crime that he did. And they ended up giving him 2 years. And it happened in the state of Florida. So Florida, you only have to serve about 85% or 80% of your sentence. So that man got off practically scot-free because obviously he's the sheriff's son. So one of the most heinous things that I've seen that someone has gotten severe punishment for was this woman. I can't remember her name, but it was a case, and it was considered a federal case because the crime happened across 2 states. Because, anyways, let me tell you what she did. So basically, she was friends with this other woman, and she had mental issues, and for the longest she lied that she was pregnant because she always wanted a child. And so she ends up making friends with this pregnant woman. They become besties, and the pregnant woman lived in a different state from her. So when the woman was near to her due date, mind you, this woman had a husband. This woman had a husband and faked her own pregnancy. So she, so when the woman was close to her due date, she drove to the woman's house, talking about she was going to pick up some gift or something, and she ended up stabbing the woman, and she the woman and took the baby out of the woman's stomach. Yeah, that's disgusting and bizarre. Takes the baby, drives back home, passing it off as if she's just given birth to the child. And yeah, so she ended up getting caught because her husband had suspicions, the hospital had suspicions, and basically they ended up like linking that the crime was, you know, her. So she ended up, obviously took the child away from her, and she ended up getting the death sentence. I think she was on death row for about 10 years, I want to say, but she was executed. Because again, it's a federal crime that she committed. So yeah, she ended up getting executed. But then when you start her backstory was like disgusting because she was basically pimped out by her parents. So it started with her dad. It was either her dad or her stepdad used to rape her, and her mom walked in one time. She was like, I think she was like 11 or 12. Her mom walks in on raping her, and she did nothing. Mom did nothing. Literally shut the door, and it was just ill. It's disgusting. And then basically her parents would pimp her out. So her stepdad would fight over his friends, they would pay money, and then they would have with her and then go about their business. Mom knew about it. Mom also pimped her out. It was just disgusting. So I mean, it's just nasty because it's like ill. Like, why would you pimp out your child? But that just also shows you that if like stuff like that, when that happens to children and children do not get the proper like healing from that, and they don't get the proper help that they need from that trauma, that they will also go out and do heinous stuff. So I'm not saying that she was right in what she did. I'm just saying if you have unhealed scars, that can trigger you to do things. So yeah, worst case. And I was absolutely disgusted by it.
Speaking of death penalty, do you actually believe in the death penalty? No,
I don't. See, I believe in castration. I believe in chopping limbs, especially rapists, especially with children. So yeah, if you've committed crimes, anything against children, assault sexually, even beat children, I believe that first of all your hand should be off so you can never touch another child again. I also believe that your wee should be off. This pertains to men and women. So women, you get your vagina related. Same thing with men, you get your wee off, because I do not agree with any of that. But as far as death penalty, yeah, so castrate them if they've committed those kind of crimes. If it's like regular type of crime, yeah, I believe get your off. Like if someone is like, a man just decides to go on a street and he like stabs a woman, you know, and then lock him up. Yeah, I believe in life sentences, multiple life sentences. So like, you know, 25 years of life sentence. So let's say somebody get 2 life sentences, get locked up for 50 years. Yeah.
You know, I agree with you too, because I am actually a victim of child abuse. When I was younger, I had a family member, loved one, beat me on my arm until I was black and blue. And you know, if they would have took his arm off, I wouldn't have been upset, because that's a little bit of trauma that I went through. It doesn't affect me now, I'm older, but at the time it did affect me. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
What are some current debates or controversies within the criminal justice field that you find compelling?
I know one they said where it was an issue with the transgenders, whether when they get locked up, either you lock them up with, you know, their assigned gender or whatever they transition with. That's just one that I can think of, like, off the top of my head. Another one would just be like the whole racial war that's been going on since like 2020 with the whole George Floyd thing. But yeah, those are kind of weird and bizarre.
So what is your input on George Floyd and the racial thing, and then the transgender? Like, do you agree with that or do you disagree?
So with the whole George Floyd thing, 2020, it was a sad situation that happened. However, the events that took place, like the whole rioting and the whole people just knocking things over and people like vandalizing shops and businesses that had absolutely nothing to do with it. I honestly think that people was just so bored because of COVID lockdown. They were just looking for something to do. And I don't support vandalizing small businesses, mom and pop shops, for absolutely no reason. Like, no, if you have a problem with the police, you take that up with the police. There shouldn't be innocent people that's getting, you know, the butt end of this because, oh, I'm bored, oh, I have nothing to do. Like, no, you can riot for a cause and not have to be violent, and it turned violent when it shouldn't have. As far as the whole transgender movement, yeah, that's whatever your assigned birth is, that's where you go.
How are your feelings toward the police system today?
Personally, me, I don't have issues with the police. I really haven't had like a bad run-in, thank God. I know other people have experienced different things, you know, so I can't speak for them, but as far as me, like, I'm good with the police, especially because in my field, like, I have to work closely with them anyway, so it's like, I can't be like, I hate the police, you know, and then I'm like, hey, you know, like, I need your story, your witness, and I don't have any ill feelings toward them pertaining to that. As far as the whole criminal justice system, I've looked at it and I've seen how flawed it is, and it definitely needs work, but I mean, I can't knock the justice that has been served with certain cases. So
what is something new that you learned in a program that you will carry with you for the rest of your life?
Actually, what I learned is how often the law enforcement agencies, how often they pay off people that sue them. Like, there's been so many lawsuits, and I actually had this girl in my class, she works in a law firm, and she said it's so common for when a person is trying to sue a cop or like the agency for like let's say it's like they got locked up or something, they got a ticket when they shouldn't have, whatever the case is. Like, it's so common for these agencies to pay out the people. Like, they're like, we listen, take the lawsuit, we'll pay you whatever money you want, and they kind of like run with it. So that's super common. That's something I was like, what? So that just shows you that, yeah, they need to work on some things.
How have your viewpoint changed on life since being in the criminal justice program?
I mean, in all honesty, people think like it can't happen to you, like when it comes to certain crimes and stuff, like, oh, it can't happen to you, it'll never happen to you, but that's just not far from the truth. And there's been just so many people where they've, even like being at a gas station getting robbed, like if I'm at a gas station, my initial thought is like, oh, like, I hope I don't get robbed today, you know what I mean? But it's just really just to always be on guard, because there are some evil people out there that's lurking, they're just waiting for a moment to strike. So always be on guard for sure.
Have you ever wanted to switch your major and go into a different career field?
I actually did. Yes, I did. I did. So it was during, I think it was my freshman year of high school, where I was taking this class where I found the class to be completely useless. But it was a class, I don't remember what the focus was of the class, but we did a project where it was like, you did a career assessment. It was like a quiz that you took and a test, and then it basically showed like different careers that you would be good in based on your personality. And I remember I wanted to switch to administrative education, or just like the whole education field as a whole. And like I was like, okay, like maybe I can, you know, be, you know, like this, no, you know, the people at school, not at school, like the administratives at the district, and how they'll like the education and implement different things that they want to happen throughout the year. So I was looking into going to that. I was like, oh, that would be kind of cool. So I ended up getting a dream, and basically this woman, she was telling me, she was like, no, stay in your field. I never spoke to anyone about this, but she ended up coming to me as I was thinking about it in my heart, and she was like, no, stay in the field that you're on the right track. So
if you could change one law in America, which law would that be? Yeah,
like I was saying, if you're convicted of especially to do with a child, yeah, you have to be castrated. I think that should be a law.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
So hopefully I'll be done with school and established well in my career. Also, I would like to open my own law firm one day and start my own practice. So that would be great if I can accomplish that in 10 years.
If you can give the world one piece of advice to anybody in the world, not just about law, just anything in general, what would it be?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God. That's pretty much it. Yeah, accept Christ into your heart, because yeah, it's, you know, it's cool to have these earthly things, but you also want to make sure that you're laying up your treasures in heaven for yourself. So yeah, put God first, trust in Christ, and all the things will follow. So you can chase the money, you can chase the house, you can chase the girls, the men, whatever, but at the end of the day your soul's going to be empty. So yeah, allow Christ into your life so he can change everything. He'll provide also all these other things that you desire.
Wow, that was very, very interesting. I learned a lot of things, and hopefully you learned a lot of things. Go ahead and leave a comment down below if you are going into the criminal justice program, or if you want to learn more about it. We can do future interviews about it. I really appreciate you, 10 Talents, for coming out and actually letting me interview you and teaching the world about this, because like I said, a lot of these things I didn't know, and it's great that this education is getting out there. So thank you for watching. If you stay at the end of the video, I just want to say I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you stay humble. Make sure you stay positive. Please make sure you stay safe out there. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior.
Amen.
And peace out.